from Urchfab. This is going to be part 14 on the Mongrel. I'm just carrying on where I left off with the roll cage. So next job on the list is going to be to bend these front legs, which you're going to follow this all the way along this inner edge, down the pillar, down to the footbox here. The idea with these is to get them as close to the body as possible. I'd like to be able to weld them directly to the pillars along this top, you know, down here if I can, and I want to try and get it as tight into this dash as possible so that I can run a dash bar straight across, and this is dead straight across the top of this dash, so I should be able to run a bar straight across and weld this straight to the roll cage bar, bracing this across. Before that, I'm going to cut some of this material away that's not needed in these corners, and it's just going to make the welding process of welding the roll cage in the door bars a lot easier. And there's a couple of little holes I need to weld up in the floor, just where I pulled the spot welds through. A few people are asking about tube sizes for the cage. I'm using 1 3/4 12 gauge seamless tube for the main hoop. Everything else is 1.5 12 gauge seamless tube. Really depends what you're building the car for, so you have to research the specs for whatever you want to use the car for, and they'll tell you exactly what sizes of tube you're going to use. 1 3/4 12 gauge is what I do most of my cages out of. I've got a whole load of 1.5 that I need to get rid of, so I'm going to use that up on this, and it will still be fine for what I want to use this car for. So that's what we're doing. These are my two legs all bent up. I've cleaned up just all the rusty, crappy edges along where these rails are gonna run, and so we can sit them in there now and then get the notches done for these top corners, and then cut the lengths to fit on the boxes.
Like a glove.
So first I'm going to trim this down to get it sitting where I want on this corner, so it will sit on that box. Right, so I'm happy with how these are fitting. I need to put a bend at this end, probably like 10 degrees maybe. Just to bring, this is where it's going to join the main hoop. This needs to bend inwards slightly, just to bring this, so that this back edge is like running along the top of the door line, and then obviously where the main hoop bends, it needs to kink inwards a bit to meet it. So this is tight all the way down the roof here, follows the pillars nice, and then meets the hoop sort of central to the bend, and it will follow that point down from like here. It will come down to a plate which is going to sit a little bit rearward of the strut mount there. So now I'm going to make this top screen bar, which is going to run along this, try and get it to touch this so I can weld it straight to it. And now I'm going to make this bar, which will go across the top of this dash, and I'll be able to cut this out underneath that line. And these are tight to the top of the thing here, that's dead straight, so it'll all just weld straight to it. So it'll be welded all the way along this pillar, all the way along there. I'll probably put a few other bits in. It can be welded to the pillar there, welded here. So it won't need any plates up those pillars. I don't really like those holes there, so I might actually just put some in just to cover that up. So what I'm going to do now is just put 2 bends in this tube to try and get it to follow that top of that windscreen panel. We'll just do a bit, see what it looks like. If it needs a bit more, do a bit more. So just start off with 10 degrees each end, see how close that is. So that looks somewhere near. So we'll notch it and then just do a little bit at a time until we get it to touch where it needs to be. I've got this one bent up, ended up kinking that to 15 degrees either side. That fits nice and just touches that top piece, and then this one just sits in, will just sit in under here, so I can get those clamped in place, and then that's all I'm going to do for today. So this is all just loosely sort of clamped in place, well, quite tightly clamped in place. We're tight here, so we'll be able to weld this straight to this piece along here. We can weld all the way along the bottom of here. We can weld the top of this dash all the way along. So yeah, it's a nice fit. So this is all I'm doing for today, and then on Saturday I'm going to put the lower part of the door bar in. So I'll get that cut and just tacked in place, and then I'll put these bars that are going to connect from the start of this bend here down to here, get those tacked in place, and then I'll weld everything I can get to from here and then drop it off the boxes, which will give me access to weld the tops of these, which obviously you would never be able to get to if you didn't do that. The tops of those, the backs of these bits that are going to come down. Alright, that is it for today. Got the sort of main structure of the cage bent, fitted. These legs and the main hoop, that's the tricky bit of a roll cage. Everything else now is really basic. Actually no, it's not. The door bars that come out into the door can be a bit tricky. But yeah, the hard work is done really when it comes to the cage. Happy with how it fits. It's really tight all the way around. Couldn't really get it much tighter than that, I don't think. Quite important to get it tight to the body, especially in a small car. Particularly around where your head is going to be. You don't want bars and pieces of tube really anywhere near your head if you can get around it. So yeah, that's it for this one. Cheers for watching. See you on the next one.